Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Sunshine Ignited from YYC with Joe and Nicole.
I'm Joe. I'm Nicole. We're happy you guys could join us on a Monday morning. Different saying good morning than good afternoon.
I know, it kind of threw me for a loop for a second there, but it's a beautiful Monday morning in YYC. The morning has flown by. Gorgeous outside, though. I was able to enjoy coffee outside on my front step. Definitely loved it.
It's a beautiful, beautiful day. We're excited today for our special edition. We have Fleury on with us, talking everything from his book to his album to awareness. And I think our timing for October is pretty good.
It is. He's such an inspiration to so many. So we couldn't be more excited to have him on here. And again, you guys, we are on the Staples Media Network. And we're here every Thursday normally. And we go live once a month. But I think, you know what, we're incorporating a couple more live shows. So this is exciting. October is about extending ourselves as well.
Yes.
So that's why we're having the special today. You guys, every Thursday, you can reach us, though, on the Staples Media at 347-205-9631.
Yeah, or online at blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. We also have Facebook and StreamYard that we're using now, which is awesome. Lots of tools for us. And we have our Facebook page, Instagram page. Don't forget to like us. Don't forget to follow us. And if you have any questions or comments, always send those to us. We do have a Gmail as well, sunshineignited@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, anything that you would like to bring to our attention.
And also, don't forget, you guys, we have the YouTube account now. So Sunshine Ignited is on YouTube. We are streaming live to that as well today.
Very excited.
It is so exciting. So Fleury will be coming in at 11. We can't wait to have him on and talk everything with him.
Just turning that off, sorry.
That's okay. And it's going to be a great show. He's on for 45 minutes.
Yes.
And so if you guys have any questions or comments, please make sure you comment on this video, and we'll make sure we get those asked to him.
Absolutely. I'm excited. I came from the era in Calgary of the Flames and Theoren Fleury and all of everything amazing. We were hardcore, die-hard Calgary Flames fans. So for me, this is pretty incredible to get to meet an icon who not only in the world of hockey, but then from that time took, his struggles and everything that he's been through to hopefully, make a difference in the world.
So he's making a huge difference. And if you would have told me 10 years ago I would be sitting here today talking to Fleury, I would have laughed at you.
Yes.
I cannot believe we're getting this opportunity. It's absolutely incredible because he has really inspiration, hope. He's done so much more above and beyond his hockey career. It's incredible. It's an honor.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes, it is an honor. So our October title for YYC, for our Sunshine Ignited, is Living Our Dreams with Heart. And I think, what a great opportunity to hopefully see what are Theoren Fleury's dreams and hopes. What is he looking to achieve in his already very successful life?
And his goals moving forward. It's so important because we all set goals and we all have them. And I'm sure he has some amazing ones. So I can't wait to hear those as well.
Very excited. Very excited. So let's talk a few things coming up. So we have a little bit of time here before he's on with us at 11. There we go. So we are entering National Mental Illness Awareness Week this coming week. So that's October 6th to 12th. And I think, we've talked about it a lot, about mental awareness and health. So awesome. And you know what? Just in time, our special guest, we're very excited. I'd like to introduce my article and very excited, Theoren Fleury.
Hi, gals. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay.
We want to welcome you to the show. Thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, are you in Calgary enjoying this beautiful weather we're having?
I sure am. Yeah, it's been incredible. So spent a lot of time on the golf course. So
well, who would think that you could be golfing in October? Because I know last October we had a lot of snow.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. Yeah, the golf season was cut short. So thank God we got a few days here left. So
Yeah, I agree, especially because sports are a little bit different this year, and golf was the first one that was released that we were allowed to do in any form of socializing. So I'm glad that we can extend it hopefully until maybe November.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be great.
So welcome to our show. I don't know if you've ever seen our show before. We've been doing this for a couple months now, and to have you on just means the absolute world. You're such an inspiration and a hope to so many, above and beyond your hockey career, everything that you've done. I want to thank you for continuing to be an inspiration to people.
Yeah, well, when I sat down to write that book several years ago, I did it for very selfish reasons at the beginning. I just wanted to put all this stuff on paper, take one last look at it, and put it in its rightful place, which was the past, because I'd spent, the majority of my life living in my past, and what was interesting is, the universe has a sense of humor, so to speak, and after I told my story. And, my story is filled with lots of trauma and mental health issues and addiction issues. And what happened is I ran into a whole bunch of other people who had either had the same experiences I had or were going through what I had gone through. And so, it sort of put me on a different path in life, and, a path that, I never would have dreamed of, but I can tell you it's probably been the most rewarding part of my life. And, I feel very blessed and very fortunate to be able to be in this position to, inspire other people to, find their voice and use their voice to talk about their pain and suffering, because I really believe that is the first step in the process.
I couldn't agree more. Now, when you started writing the book, Theo, were you writing the book just to get it out on paper, or was your full intention to release the book?
Well, I thought originally the book was just going to be about hockey, and as we started to fill the pages, I gained a certain amount of trust with my co-author, and that trust really created a safe space, and from that safe space, I was able to reveal to her, and I guess to myself for the very first time, that this stuff actually happened. And because of it, like I said, my life was really changed forever. And, when we're dealing with trauma and mental health and addiction issues, there's still a tremendous amount of stigma attached to the events that happen around, these type of things. And, I think it was really the first time in my life that I was really vulnerable and really sort of open and honest. And what happened was, the vulnerability in which I wrote this book allowed other people to feel safe. Mm-hmm. And, when especially, how many guys talk about vulnerability? Like zero, and what I've learned is that vulnerability creates safety. And then when you have safety, that's when the magic of healing happens, is when people feel safe. And, we're in a situation here right now where we've just experienced the most traumatic thing that's ever happened since World War II, which is COVID-19. And, as human beings, we need to be in relationships. And what COVID has done is it's isolated us and, sort of kept us homebound, which isn't good for human beings to experience. And so, we've seen a spike in opioid overdoses and opioid deaths, and we've seen a tremendous spike in suicides. And I believe it's a direct correlation and a result of COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And the inability for people to access help, I think, is something that COVID has created as well, is that we are unable, when you are not allowed to see your doctors, you cannot rely on your close network to support you.
Yeah.
I think that mental health piece was a very big part, and it's going to cause long-term effects for adults, definitely, but for the generation that is currently going through it, this is going to be a big impact for them. So
yeah.
I think more time needs to be spent with the awareness and advocating and tools. And you talk about, there, and I was listening to an interview, you talked about your toolbox and creating tools. And I love that term because I think it is so important. So what type of tools do you use?
Well, my toolbox was filled with addictions, right? And, I really hate that word addiction because it has so much shame attached to it. And it always has this phrase as well attached to addiction is, why don't you just stop? Well, if it was that easy, we wouldn't need, and what I found really kind of ironic is that one of the essential places that was allowed to stay open was a liquor store.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? That alcoholism is completely acceptable behavior. And really, at the end of the day, addictions are a coping mechanism to help people deal with their emotional pain and suffering. And so what I call addiction is basically emotional pain management is what it really is. And so, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, work, there's workaholics, anything that distracts us from actually feeling what we're actually supposed to be feeling is an addiction. Right.
I agree.
And so, that was my toolbox to be able to deal with, my growing up in a home where both my parents experienced childhood trauma themselves, and then used addiction as a coping mechanism. So my dad was an alcoholic. My mom was a prescription pill addict. I grew up in a very chaotic, crazy environment. And then, as a phenom adolescent hockey player, I ran into a coach who raped me 150 times. And so, I had all of this emotional pain that I was trying to suppress. And, from the very, very first sip of alcohol, that became sort of, my Paxil, my Prozac, my, whatever it was to deal with all these mental health issues that I'd experienced from those traumatic experiences. And so, after I wrote the book, I was newly sober, but I still had the ism, right? The ism, alcoholism, and so I had to change that ism part, and I had to change my thinking, and I had to change my the way that I lived my life on a daily basis. And so, there's lots of great things out there that can distract us from, addictions, meditation and practicing some sort of spirituality on a daily basis, talking to people on a daily basis, helping people on a daily basis. There's lots of really great things. And I went down the big pharma route with my mental illness, and I had a gun in my mouth 16 years ago. That's where that took me. And so I've really done a lot of research and been able to hang around with all kinds of really incredible holistic people who practice holistic practices. And And when I really grasped onto the concept that there are three main things that I had to heal, that was my physical well-being, my emotional well-being, and my spiritual well-being. And those three things are essential in overcoming any kind of mental illness. And so on a daily basis, I try to do at least one of those things that helps me have some peace, joy, happiness, serenity, whatever you want to call it. And so, it's not rocket science, but we sort of made it that way. We've made it really complicated. But ultimately, there was one relationship that I neglected the most in all of this. And that was the relationship I had with myself.
Yeah, it's so important.
And by, starting to have a relationship with myself was where, all the healing was. Is figuring out how the hell am I going to live in this body with all this emotional pain that I experienced in my past? How can I lessen it? How can I make sense of it? And a lot of people I work with, the hardest part they have is the action part, is actually doing something that helps you get out of whatever it is, depression, anxiety, OCD, PTSD, whatever label, they attach to you. It's the action part that actually matters the most, is that I have to do it. Like, and that I do need help. Like I need help. I need to be surrounded by other people who have had success, who've decreased their anxiety, decreased their depression, all of these things. And so, I call myself an expert in relational trauma. Well, my trauma happened in relationship, and how am I going to heal that? Well, it's going to happen in relationship. Healthy, open, honest, vulnerable relationships. And it's that simple. And the most effective kind of therapy, and the one that costs the least amount of money, is a little thing called group therapy. Is you get a bunch of people in a room, you use vulnerability to create safety, and then once you have safety in the room, it's incredible the kind of healing that happens in these rooms when that safety piece is there. And what we haven't done in society is we have not created a safe space for people to talk about being raped 150 times. We have not created a safe space. And until we do that, we are going to continue down this road and down this path of opioid addiction, suicides, all of these things. And so,
I couldn't agree more. What was that Me Too moment like for you when you realized there was so many other people that had exactly the same experiences as you as being raped?
Well, it happened at the very first book signing. 4 days before I went to Toronto to launch the book, like I was as scared as I've ever been in my life, because I had no idea how everybody else was going to react to what was in the book. And not only that, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations. I didn't think anybody was going to read the book, to be honest with you. And I thought I would show up and sign 10 books and go to the next town and sign 10 books. Well, I show up at the biggest Indigo chapter store in all of Canada in downtown Toronto on Yonge Street. And I walked through the front door, and there was 400 people standing in line with my book. And I'm like, what the hell are all these people doing? And so I sat down at the book table and I started signing books, and out of the corner of my eye spotted this guy in line, and he had my book clutched against his chest, and his face was buried in the floor, and he was kind of walking really slow. And I was like, I wonder what's up with this guy. So I followed him all the way in the line. He gets to the front of the line. He puts the book on the table, looks me in the eye and says, me too, you know? And that was the moment when, you know, my whole entire being stepped into, you know, the true purpose for my life. And, you know, after that first book signing, like I got run over by people everywhere I went. 5, 10, 15, 20 people at every book signing were coming up to the table and saying, hey man, I read your book. You told my story. Me too. Right. And, you know, I that's when I realized, man, by me finding my own voice and finding the courage and the strength to find my own voice and talk about my pain and suffering, I can help other people achieve the exact same thing. And, you know, for the last 11 years, like I have been incredibly busy, you know, either doing workshops or speaking engagements or talking to people like yourself online, you know, and like I said, it's just been incredible. And what's happened is by helping other people, I've healed myself, right? And you know, I always say when I'm on stage speaking to people, I always say I'm in therapy for the rest of my life, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, yeah, I'm in therapy for the rest of my life, and I'm completely okay with that, because every time I put myself in a therapeutic place or a therapeutic position or a therapeutic opportunity, guess what happens? I get better, right? And so that is part of the stigma that's attached to all of these things as well, is that, you know, if you have to go to therapy, there's something, you know, seriously wrong with you. Well, no, I'm taking care of myself. That's what self-love and self-care looks like. And if I don't do those things, then I'm probably going to drink and I'm probably going to use and I'm going to be angry and miserable. And, you know, there is no peace and there is no serenity. There is no joy, you know, in my life. And so, you know, that's the kind of things that mental health advocates fight through every single day, is this stigma of there's something wrong with me. Well, I'll tell you, if you have trauma, if you have mental health issues, and if you have addiction issues, guess what? You're in the majority. You're not in the minority, you know? And I love all these campaigns that basically say 1 in 5 people suffer from mental illness. So we're going to shame the one person who has, you know, mental illness. Well, guess what? I believe it's 5 in 5. It's all of us. And we're all in this together. And if you have 2 ears and you can listen, guess what? You can be a mental health advocate.
Yes, absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And I think if mental health was as equally important as our physical health, which you go to the doctors, you know, they're always checking on your body, but like you say, they are all interconnected. Your physical, your emotional and mental, as well as your spiritual.
Yeah. There's no doubt that all 3 of those things have to live in harmony. And when one's out of whack, you're going to struggle. And so, you know, a great choice to make every day is I'm going to do something for myself. Because those of us who experience trauma, we don't live in our bodies. You know, we escape from the reality of our feelings. It's almost like an involuntary sort of act, is that, you know, and, you know, the hardest thing for me was, you know, we have this saying, sitting in your shit, right? Well, sitting in your shit is part of the process of healing, because we're actually feeling our feelings for the very first time and not suppressing them with some sort of addiction. And so, you know, yeah, there are going to be days when we're going to struggle, but that's part of the process of healing is understanding and knowing, am I sad? Am I anxious? Am I angry? Am I irritable? Am I restless? Right? We need to identify those feelings and then use our voice to tell somebody else, this is how I'm feeling today. Because if we don't, we suppress those emotions, and guess where they show up? In the physical body, in how you're feeling physically, right? You know, a highly stressed body is a very acidic body. And if you have an acidic body, that's where cancer absolutely loves it, when your body's in stress and when it's very highly acidic. And so, you know, that's why we need to exercise and you know, do some stuff physically. And you know, and for mental health, the best thing you can do when you're depressed or anxious is move. Yeah. Because when you move, you create a different type of chemistry in your body that allows you to get out of those depression or those episodes of depression and anxiety. And believe me, it's the most difficult thing to do when you're fully full on in a panic attack, is to get yourself out of bed and get yourself moving. But if you can, it helps, you know, exponentially.
Absolutely. That's amazing. You talk about, you say all of these really amazing things, which I love, and it's identifying your feelings and your emotions. And I think coming from a generation that we weren't really allowed to do that. Like, you did what you were told, you kept to yourself, and you, right? Like, that was, you just didn't do that. So to learn that as an adult, to, like you talk about, new rewiring your brain, creating these neural pathways and identifying your feelings are so incredibly important. What is something that you do every day that you get up to help you on that path?
Well, I try to meditate first thing in the morning. You know, I'm a very big believer in Aboriginal spirituality because I've spent the last 11 years, I've visited over 420 Aboriginal communities, and really those people gave me my life back spiritually, because I started to do some of their spiritual practices like smudging in the morning and, you know, participating in sweat lodge or dancing or drumming or, you know, some of those things. I always tell people, find your five people and contact one of them every single day, no matter how you're feeling. If you're feeling great, still pick up the phone and say, hey, you know what? Today is a great day. Or today is a crappy day, you know, and always stay in contact with people, because what mental illness does is it isolates us, right? It really, really isolates us. People, especially who suffer from depression, which is, you know, one of the things that is on my spectrum is I suffer from really deep, dark, ugly depressions. And so, you know, I have to be in contact with people. I have to let them know how I'm doing, you know, because when people go silent, that means that something is seriously wrong, you know? And so pick up the phone, and, you know, if the first one on your list, if the phone's busy, try the second one. If the second one's busy, try the third one, until you make that contact with somebody every day. I really believe that that's incredibly important, that you stay in communication with people, because the more you do it, obviously it develops into a habit, and then it gets easier, you know, as you go along. So, you know, there's lots of really great apps now. You know, there's Calm, there's the tapping solution. There's all kinds of really cool holistic practices that you can do as soon as you get up in the morning, because doing something for ourselves is not something that we're programmed to do, right? And especially those of us who grew up in the tough love, suck it up era.
Yeah. So suck it up and just do it. Yeah.
This is really, rewiring the brain, right? So instead of clamming up and, trying to deal with these issues on our own, like I said, we need help, And I always say, left to my own defenses, left to me running my own life is the biggest shit show on the planet when I'm running my own life, Or
So,
if I drive the bus always crashes, And so,
oh, I love it. Yeah.
there has to be a place where you surrender, right? I can't do this on my own. And that is surrender, right? And then turning your will and your life over to the care of whatever you want to call it, God, Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is turning that over to something greater than yourself, and trust that they will present to you exactly what you need to do, right? So that's the spiritual part. Always practice something spiritual, in the morning, whether that's prayer, meditation, or for you, if that's exercise, or, picking up the phone and talking to somebody, whatever it is. That means that, I do care about myself and I do want to get better. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to achieve that goal, whatever that goal that you set for yourself, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I knew I was going to die, and I didn't want to die. I wanted to live.
Did you reach that point on your own, or did someone else reach out and say, okay, Theo, like, we see that you're having problems now?
Well, the number one question I always get, or an email, is, I have a son, I have a daughter, I have a granddaughter, I have a niece, I have a nephew who's going down the wrong path. And so I'll quickly text back, do they want help? Because if they don't want help, there is nothing you can do to help them. And I know it's kind of a harsh thing, but I've been doing this for such a long time that if people don't want help, you can't help them. And the only thing you can do is help yourself. Right?
What was your wake up moment where you realized that you needed that help, that you wanted to help yourself?
So addicts and alcoholics and people who are addicted to whatever, what we're really good at? We're really good at collecting enablers. We collect them. Okay. And the more enablers we have, the longer our behavior can last, right? But what happens is eventually we make the enablers sick because of our behavior. And then the enablers, the light bulb goes on and goes, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And I need to set some healthy boundaries for myself so that I don't get hurt anymore. Okay. And that is exactly what happened with me. Is every single person who loved and cared about me were completely gone out of my life because they had to go look after themselves because I was making them sick by my behavior. And so it wasn't long after all the enablers were gone out of my life that I hit that proverbial rock bottom. And I said to myself, wow, so this is where, my behavior got me. Well, I better change something about this to change that, And, I got sober and really started to peel the layers of the onion off of my trauma and trying to figure that all out. And then, I got to a point where, one day became 2 days, and then 3 days, and then I had a month, and then I had 2 months, and, so on and so forth. And, a couple of Fridays ago, I celebrated, let me just see here. I got it on my phone. I celebrated 5,495 consecutive days of sobriety.
Wow.
And I can honestly tell you how that happened. It was just stringing one day at a time together, because, they say if we think about the past, that's depression. And if we think about the future, that's anxiety. And so that one day at a time thing really made sense to me, because if I'm concentrating on being present in the moment as much as possible, then I'm going to have a lot more success when it comes to relationships and, irritability, anger, frustration, all of these things. And so, those tools in my toolbox that I mentioned earlier, I use them like almost on a minute to minute basis sometimes when I get irritable, restless, and have these crazy thoughts that I need to get rid of. And it's just about calming down, your nervous system, which is overactivated because of some sort of trigger, that's happened, during the day.
Absolutely. So what gives you hope?
Just the amount of people that I've seen that are struggling, that are really doing incredible things with their lives, and when I had that gun in my mouth, what was it, 16 years ago, all I had was just a tiny, tiny bit of hope left. And, because I couldn't pull the trigger, I better figure this out. Right. And so, being of service to people, I think, is the greatest gift that you can give people. Right. And subsequently, by being of service, what's going to happen? You're going to heal. You're going to heal just by being of service to somebody else. And that, to me, that helping is healing is sort of a mantra that we sort of use. I can't tell you how much that is so incredibly important. I always say, if you're feeling crappy about yourself, go help somebody else, because at the end of that exercise, you won't even remember what the hell you were, what you were upset about, And,
it's true. I love your vocabulary, the words you use of hope and healing and transformation, words that have real tangible meaning, and people can grasp onto them and do things with that. And you keep such a positive attitude, regardless of anything that's happened in your life or how
Right.
you're feeling. You continue on this path of positivity and, making a difference in the world.
Yeah, well, there are gifts in pain and suffering. Everybody thinks that they're burdens, but I really believe they're a sign from the universe that something's wrong in your life, right? And the universe will always put these lessons in front of you until you get them. And for me, it was always like, pour me another drink, right? I was feeling sorry for myself. And when I got to the point where I realized that, my parents were actually a gift in my life. My abuser was a gift in my life. Because if I didn't have those experiences, guess what? I'm not in this position now to help other people who've had the same experience as me get to the other side, And yeah, and when you're awake and present, you're able to pick up on these things that the universe keeps putting in front of you, on a daily or weekly basis that you need to work on.
Exactly. So how much has music come into your life? We know you had a country music album.
Yeah.
Has that helped you heal as well?
Well, I've always been an entertainer, right? From the time I first stepped on the ice, I was like, wow, people really like me when I'm performing, right? And so whether that's, playing in front of 20,000 people every night, or standing on a stage and speaking, or, performing songs that I've written myself, or, whatever it is, they always say stick to what you know. And, I've always been sort of a guy that can entertain people and make them feel good, and provide inspiration and hope and all these things. And so, I grew up around country music, and, my grandpa was a fiddle player, and my dad was a singer, and my uncle was a singer. And so, some of my fondest childhood memories were sitting beside my grandfather, listening to him play the fiddle. And, that piece of DNA that was passed down from my grandfather and my dad, was always a part of me. I just needed some nurturing and some people around me that could bring that piece out of me. And, basically the first album is Playing with Fire in music, in a musical form. So, I love to perform, but most importantly, I love to take a thought and an idea and turn it into music. It's such an incredible process, and it's so cathartic, and it's so much fun to be that creative. Like, I'm left-handed, right? So, the world doesn't work without us, artistic, left brain people out there.
It is.
Exactly.
It is true. It is a left-handed thing.
It definitely is. Now, we have had a couple questions come in. Rex would like to know how many times you've almost relapsed
During sobriety.
Yeah. Geez, I think at the beginning was probably the most dangerous time, because I didn't really have a whole lot of tools, in my toolbox at that time. And so, my body was so conditioned to, anytime I would get triggered, like, I knew how to make that feeling go away. And that was drink copious amounts of alcohol and snort lots of cocaine. And, I would be completely numbed out from reality, and running away from, I guess my sadness was probably the biggest thing. But, as time went by, I got stronger and stronger, and then I started helping people, and because of that, I don't really think about it anymore. I know, I always say, I have another relapse in me, but I certainly do not have another recovery in me. And so every day I choose, no matter what's going on in my life, that I'm never going to drink today. Tomorrow I might, but today I'm not, and that's why I love that saying, one day at a time. That's all it is. And for us addicts and alcoholics, that's all we have. We only have one day at a time. That's it. And if I drink, that all goes away very, very, very quickly.
Yeah. It's for sure a very fast spiral. So you talk about, and we're huge advocates of not just awareness, but actually education and information. And, there's lots of awareness for mental health and addictions and that, but that, only goes so far if there's not something that follows. When we talk about the healing and transformation, the toolboxes. So how we see what you're doing. How can society achieve this?
Oh boy. Well, that's the $1 million question, right? We have the highest amount of awareness in the history of our planet around people struggle with mental illness. Okay. And everybody's talking about it. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have the highest suicide rates ever. Okay. So why isn't all this awareness being turned into action and getting people well? Well, like, this is a lifelong process. Like, there is no magic pill, because I've tried them all. Okay. And it is just a daily transformation, changing the way we used to do it the old way and changing it the way we do it the new way, right? And because vulnerability, especially in the men's mental health spectrum, we don't use the word vulnerability because of all this macho bullshit crap that we grew up with, right? That we're supposed to be tough. Well, you know what I say? I say I'm still one of the toughest son of a bitches that ever walked the face of the earth. But I can also be vulnerable, right? And part of being tough is my vulnerability.
Yeah,
right.
That's very true. So do you think things have improved since the time you wrote the book with society? Do you think it's less shunned upon talking about it now than it was 16 years ago? Or
yeah, I think there's no question we've made strides, but I'll always go back to this, this group therapy thing, okay? And this vulnerability and safety piece, because I'll tell you a story, and it was one of the most healing things that I've ever experienced in my life. So Kim Barthel, who I wrote Conversations with a Rattlesnake, we do one-day healing conferences all over North America. And we did one in Calgary. Early on in our collaboration together, we did a healing day in Calgary. And, the morning was spent, using vulnerability to create safety in the room. And I had noticed there was one gentleman who was giving me lots of nonverbal communication, that he really had something like a burning desire that he wanted to share with our group. So this guy stands up and he says, I just want everybody to know that I've never felt this safe in a room in my entire life. And he said, I've been carrying around this secret for the majority of my life. And I really feel compelled that in this moment to share this secret with you. And he said, I molested my sister for 11 years. And what happened was we had some women in our audience who had been molested by their brothers. They got out of their chairs, walked over to this guy, and embraced him.
Wow.
And to me, that's what healing is about. And the fact that I got to witness something like that's what gets me out of bed every day, is those kind of healing moments, because who knows if that guy would have been ever able to express that kind of brutal honesty. And we don't have that kind of honesty. And that is the thing that's holding all of this back, is that, there was no judgment in that room towards this individual who had done something very horrific to his little sister.
Yeah.
But there was so much compassion and empathy in that room that allowed not only the women in the audience, but that man to heal in that moment. And that's why I say group therapy is the absolute best kind of therapy, and it doesn't cost anything to get a bunch of people in a room, use vulnerability, create safety, and then once safety's in the room, it's amazing. People just start popping out of their chairs and telling us for the very first time in their life what they struggle with. And that trauma peaks, right? Because trauma is at the heart of every single thing that happens in this world. And trauma is the string which binds us together as human beings. So when I say you're in the majority, you are in the majority.
Yeah.
And I said this during my TED Talk. I said, I'm going to qualify every single person in the room as a trauma survivor by saying this. If you have parents, you've experienced trauma in your life. Not that our parents were trying to cause trauma. They're just doing the best they could with what they had. And if they knew better, they would do better. And if we knew better, we would do better. And that's, that's the bottom line. But because so many people are so damaged and they don't want to look at themselves, it's very easy to judge and point the finger because we don't want to look at ourselves and we don't want to look at our trauma. But the healing is when we use our voice and say, you know what? I was raped 150 times by my coach. That's where the healing is. That's where it is. And the more we can allow people to talk about these traumatic experiences in their life, the better this place is going to be.
Such powerful messages.
And to do it with compassion and understanding, kindness, openness, safety. You talk about all of these important parts, which you cannot have healing without these emotions that create safety for those around us.
Yeah. And we create safety by using our own traumatic experiences, right? Because when I talk about this stuff, there's no more shame left, there's no more guilt left. There's nothing left, because what I've realized is that I've never been alone in this journey. I've never been alone in this journey. There's always somebody who has had a similar experience as myself. And, like you look at what's happening in the world, it's just more layers of trauma being piled on more layers of trauma every single day. And our leaders are not leading. They're causing it all. They're causing it all.
Like some incredible, heartbreaking issues going on in our world right now. Talking about current issues, I just quickly want to ask you your opinion right now with children's hockey. I want to turn it to that. And without parents being able to go into those rinks, how are you feeling on that? Because I know a lot of Calgary is up in arms over this.
Yeah, well, I can totally see why there's some angst and some frustration and anger. As parents, we are there to protect our kids, right? And, the sports world has done a lot of things for us as parents to distrust their leadership. And, I can totally see where people are anxious because trust has been broken. And, you have to earn that trust back, which I believe that, we have taken the necessary steps to keep our children safe. But on the other side of the coin, the most lucrative business on the planet is what? Most people will say Amazon.
Human trafficking.
Human trafficking. It's $150 billion a year industry. Okay. And so, yeah, I would demand the right to be able to watch my kid in any kind of activity which they are participating in, from the fact that child and human trafficking is the biggest business in the world.
It's so true. We talked about that in one of our shows, and they talked about Human Trafficking Awareness Week, and we're like, we know there's awareness, but you can't just do it one day. You have to do it.
Well, awareness isn't awareness unless action's attached to it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I see it. There's lots of awareness, but no action. Right.
And I love that.
You can talk the talk, but if you don't walk the walk, awareness means nothing.
It's very true. Nicole and I like to talk about things for longer spans, because we have these like one days pop up and people pay attention to it for the one day, but then it's gone. So it's very important that we're talking about all of these issues all of the time. And I think what you say about the healing and the talking, it's so true. And everyone needs to just be more open to each other and listening to each other in situations.
Yeah.
Well, I think the greatest gift that you can give somebody is your 2 ears. That's the greatest gift. And when people come up to me at events or book signings or just at a shopping mall, or they see me or whatever, like 9 times out of 10, I don't ever have to say a word. All I do is I hold the space, I'm attuned, and I'm present, and then they tell me their story, and that's all I need to do. I don't need to give advice.
And it's that being present, that no phones, nothing distracting, nothing in your thoughts, just that moment. And you're right, 2 ears and your attention, your full focus, and that is enough.
Yeah. And by doing that, you know what happens? You're rewiring that person's brain. By just being present and attuned and listening, you're rewiring that person's brain. It's that easy. So
I love that.
I love it too. I can't thank you enough for being part of our show today. The words that you've used and the hope, I'm sure you're giving hope to people who are listening to this. Hopefully anyone that is in a situation like this, sexual abuse, is listening and will take steps to get out of situations. So
well,
thank you.
There are so many different kinds of abuse. Like there's physical, emotional, spiritual, bullying, and the thing I tell people all the time is that my emotional pain and your emotional pain are exactly the same. Doesn't matter how many times I was raped. It doesn't matter how many times you were mistreated. Emotional pain is emotional pain, and we all feel emotional pain exactly the same way. But when we try to minimize our own emotional pain, comparing it to somebody else's, that's not the way it is. Emotional pain is emotional pain, and we all feel it exactly the same way. And so for those of you listening out there, honest to God, we were not put on this earth to suffer in silence. We're put on this earth to be in relationship with one another and help each other get through the most difficult times in our life.
Yeah.
And so, you may not have had the same experience as me, but you're still depressed and you're still anxious and you have all these labels attached to you, just like the same labels that I have attached to me. But together, you know, they say it only takes two people to have a meeting, right? So, you know, just be there for somebody and you know, get honest. It's okay to be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest gifts you can give to yourself is, you know, talking about your truth. And I always tell people, it's your story and you get to tell your story whichever way you want because it's your story.
Yeah.
It's not my story, it's your story. And you get to tell it whichever way you want. So why not tell it?
Yeah.
Because my experience is I told my story and it's helped millions and millions of people because I found the courage to talk about what happened. And by doing that, that was the beginning of this incredible journey of healing. Don't be afraid of healing. There's nothing to be afraid of, you know? And yeah, for many years, I was afraid. But I'm certainly not anymore. You know, I'm an open book, no pun intended. Because what I've discovered is that everybody else has something. Everybody has something. And it is not my place to judge or point the finger at your experience.
I love that. It's so empowering for everybody to know, you know, there is power and healing in truth. There is within yourself, with those around you, to know that, you know, it should be done in safety and trust and compassion, kindness, and that nobody gets to tell you how you feel. You can feel exactly how you want to feel. And that I think is also a gift, is to know that, you know what, it's your journey, it's your story, and what you choose to do with it is yours.
Yeah. Well, if God didn't want us to have emotions, he wouldn't have gave them to us.
Very true. Very true. I've never thought of it that way.
You know what I mean? And you know what? Like we have a foundation called the Breaking Free Foundation here in Calgary, and we do exactly this type of group therapy twice a month. You can go to breakingfreefoundation.ca, come to a meeting. You know, there are no expectations. You can come and sit there and listen, or if you feel so inclined, you can participate, whatever it is. But I really believe it's one of the safest places in Calgary if you're struggling, that, you know, you're going to walk into that room and people are going to understand and they're going to have compassion and they're going to have empathy for, you know, whatever you're experiencing. And we're there to help you get to the next stage and the next phase of your life. And that's, you know, true healing.
Now, is this open to everyone? Do they need to
Anybody and everybody can come. Anybody and everybody can come. Yeah.
And if people are looking to give back to this organization, what can they do?
You can go onto our website, breakingfreefoundation.ca. There's a donation page on the thing, but you know, we pride ourselves on being one of the safest spaces, you know, anywhere where you can come and just be yourself and share whatever you need to share and get whatever you need to get off your chest, because you know, we understand. You know, all of our board members have experienced trauma in their life, and you know, that's how we sort of all came together with this common goal of helping people alleviate pain and suffering in their world, right? And the more we alleviate pain and suffering on this planet, the better we're going to be.
Absolutely. So we have Breaking Free Foundation here in Calgary. Are there other resources on your website that if they are not here in YYC that you can go to?
Yeah, there's lots of amazing groups out there. You just, sometimes it's unfortunate that you have to really, do your homework to find these places. But, I've traveled probably across the country, probably 10 or 15 times. And I always meet people who are doing amazing work in every single community that I get to visit, and the opportunity to hang out with these selfless people who are trying to also alleviate pain and suffering in the world.
That is amazing.
It is. If people are trying to reach you personally, do you have a personal Facebook that people can reach you on if they're struggling and reach you?
So I just started an online course called Trauma Transformation, where I lay out a step-by-step process of helping you get to where you need to go, because that's my mission statement. I'm here to help you get to where you want to go. And so you can go on my website, theofleury.life. On social media, I'm at theofleury14 on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. So, if you have a question, reach out to me, direct message. I'll get back to you as soon as it's humanly possible. I have committed myself for the rest of my life to help people get to where I'm at. And I take a lot of pride. Like I said, I've dedicated my life to healing, and, thank God I did, because if I didn't, I don't think I'd be here.
Yeah. And what a true hero you are to be helping all these people.
Very, very inspirational. And
well, kudos to you guys for having these difficult situations too. They say courage is contagious,
Mm-hmm.
and the more we show people what courage looks like, like I said, the better off, this world will be. And the most courageous thing you can do is ask for help.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're a person of tremendous character, and that you do actually care about yourself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, when we're in the throes of addiction and pain and suffering, we don't really care about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when we start to care about ourselves is when we really start to make the biggest strides, in our life. And that's, I don't know, it's so amazing to watch people go through their process of healing that you can't help but learn, from, watching people go through their own process. It's an amazing thing. And like I said, I'm so blessed and fortunate to be able to do this kind of work, because I believe that, it'll be, they always say, leave it better than what you came. Well, for me, this is it, I was a great athlete, a great hockey player who had a lot of amazing experiences in hockey. But, the thing that I'm the most proud of is that I'm a sober person today. And if I don't have sobriety, I have nothing, and so it is my greatest accomplishment. And, I try to help people do the exact same thing.
I love that. That was my question, answered without even asking it. Your greatest achievement.
Mm-hmm.
And that is amazing. And Joe and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today about, this is a tough subject, tough topic for everybody to take head on. But the more people who talk, the more people who listen, the more who make a change, the world will be a better place. For sure.
No question. If you have a compassionate heart, you can change people's lives. If you have a compassionate heart, if you don't have compassion, you can't help,
Yeah.
and compassion was a thing that I had to learn. Because I was very self-centered and selfish and all those things. And it was a direct result of my trauma experience. And, once I opened my heart and allowed other amazing things and people to come in, that's when I learned the most about, that everybody has something, and I am certainly in no position to judge anybody for, where they're at, but I can certainly help. And that's the biggest thing, is that when you put yourself in a position of help, there's so many amazing things you can learn from somebody else's pain and suffering, and it's like looking in a mirror, that's why we have these things in our brain called mirror neurons, in your eyes, I see myself as, right. And until we meet that person, when we look into their eyes, we see ourselves. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely will post all of your links below this video, so people can reach out to you. Again, thank you so much. We hope you have an incredible afternoon, and continue with your healing process. And we can't wait to hear it's been 10,000 days.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, but I'll just try to get to tonight somehow,
Exactly.
One day at a time. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So you've been watching Sunshine Ignited from YYC with Joe and Nicole, special edition this Monday morning with the amazing and inspirational Fleury. What an incredible human being, making a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Listening to his stories, it gave me goosebumps, and I was left speechless at times. I didn't actually know what to say, because real issues, deep issues, and how he's overcome these situations. And I love his story of how him helping others is healing himself, because I honestly believe we need to all talk more about the situations that are happening.
Absolutely. For us. And I love the compassion and kindness, the safety and openness that he creates, that everybody has trauma. And everybody really does have trauma, and it's your story and your feelings and how you want to, move forward is 100% up to you, and nobody gets to tell you how you're going to do that or how you feel. And I love those words, and I love his vocabulary of talking about, his blessings and the empowerment and making a difference and healing, not to be healed, because I don't think that's, part of humanity to be healed, but we are always healing and trying to move to a more healing state.
Exactly. I heard someone say it once, that once a bone is broken, it's always broken. It does heal, but it's always broken. And I think our mental health is like that too. We have these traumas that come up, and they actually never go away. They're with us, they change us, but hopefully they change us for the better. And like Theo said, if he didn't have those experiences, he would not be here today helping others. And he is a true hero.
Absolutely. And making a difference. And again, if you haven't had the chance or you don't know what it is, look up the Breaking Free Foundation. Like Theo said, there is available help anywhere in the world. It is. This just happens to be one. If you're not sure where to start looking, I'm sure they can give you guidance as to where to go so that you can help yourself or help others around you. Or if you want to donate, please take the time. Awareness is not enough. We need to take action. And I think that is probably the most powerful thing we have going forward.
Definitely. So we will be back next Thursday. We'll be
coming Thursday.
Yes, it's coming Thursday.
It's Monday.
On the Stables Media at 347-205-9631.
Yeah, online blogtalkradio.com/Mancini Sports. And don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram. We'll post everything from today as well as all of the information. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in, for watching and listening to us. We appreciate all of our listeners. And until Thursday,
stay ignited and be the sunshine.
Thanks so much.
Bye, guys.